amidst all this controversy, yeah, it's like some of you do not really understand, grooming. You see, in this Nollywood industry, there is something we call grooming. One person will particularly make you fall in love with him or do things for you like that. Then all of a sudden, you can no longer hold yourself. You would like to always have that person around you to do other things like that with you. It's like some of you do not really understand grooming. Let's have this conversation today because the controversy is actually getting too much, and I think it's actually the best time to have this conversation. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to my channel, you're welcome. Please do well to click the subscribe button to belong to this an amazing family. If you're a returning subscriber, oh geez, thank you so much for stopping by. Please watch this video with an open mind, with a very open mind, and always understand, the points where we are coming from. It's not all about, hey, stop this. Please relax. Let's even have this conversation once and for all, right? So a lot has been going on, a lot has been happening, calling attention. Some people want you to have that conversation, some people say no, let's not have that conversation. It's going on, it's controversy. So definitely there will be conversation around it, or there will be, talk like the reality coming around it, right? But what some of you do not really understand is that there is something we call grooming. Grooming in different aspects. Even at home, there are some of your little siblings, God forbid, or I'm just saying that God forbid. Like if I say God forbid, say God forbid. Yeah, that they are being groomed. If you're not paying attention so much, you may not even know. One person is grooming them somewhere. Before you know, they'll start living a life. You understand that it's always all attached to this very particular person. They don't have a mind on their own. We call that grooming. So there is always grooming in almost every aspect of life. There is always that grooming. So let's talk, for instance. There are some of you that have not seen. Let me just give an instant, right? You may actually understand what I'm talking about. There is this Sonia Uche movie that's showing on her channel right now. That is showing on her channel right now as we speak. It's a new movie that is being produced by Sonia Uche herself. Like she's the executive producer of that very particular movie. Guys, if you see this movie, please let me know. At least if you see this movie, you will understand the grooming, where I'm coming from, or what I'm talking about. Grooming is so common. Grooming is so common. Hold on first. Hold on before you come for my head. Hold on. I will explain like how it's being related to the controversy that is going on right now. And right? If you're a mother or you are just a guardian, general guardian, please watch this movie so that you can be able to understand, because people around you may actually be going through this or something that you may not even know. But if you watch this movie, you can be able to understand why maybe that person is actually behaving the way they are behaving. So Beyond Control is actually a very fantastic movie that Tessie is telling you guys that everybody should watch this movie. It's a fantastic movie, and the movie is doing just so well. It's a movie that when you watch, you are going to learn so much. So now Uche gave a different storyline completely from this movie. As I was saying the other time, I was like, if you are actually someone that thought maybe you've seen Sonia Uche movie without weeks, you can just sit and predict that this is how this movie is going to end. See, you may end up being disappointed, because this movie, it's not the normal movie that it's all about the Glasgow, it's all about house help, it's not all about one. So it's nothing close to that. So please guys, share. I will keep saying it again, share that movie, because one person may just finish watching it and he will realize to know that one person that is living with is completely damaged and need help. Please, it's a fantastic movie that I'm actually telling everybody to watch this movie. You will see different side of this. You see that maybe somebody that is poor completely cannot stay without knacking. Let me use the pidgin English so that YouTube may not understand what I'm saying. May not live without knacking. You may not know that one person is there that maybe has spoiled them completely for you. You will see their abnormal behavior, trying to hide things like that. That's why I say this movie is very educating. I don't want to be a spoiler, but please go and watch this movie, and trust me, you are going to enjoy everything that I'm talking about. So Maurice don't come again though. I'm very sure some of you have seen what Maurice did again. Maurice have come again. Yes, Maurice have come again. Maurice came publicly and posted something yesterday, because in that very particular video that he posted, he was not talking about that do you want my last name? Because he posted this and I said that Mrs. Hello Mrs. Maurice. Hey, I was like, hello, Mrs. Maurice. Who is he referring to by? I be future Mrs. Maurice that he's referring to. And you know his write up that actually, it gets me confused. He said, especially if she's a pro. If she's a pro, she can take his last name. Pro from what, Maurice? Yes, pro from what? Especially if she's a pro from what? Because how far now? You say if somebody wants to take your last name, the person has to be a pro 100%. If she's a pro 100%, she can take your last name. And you even added a love emoji. And you say, hello, Mrs. Maurice. Is there a Mrs. already that we don't know? Because this guy, 1 minute, you just keep confusing everybody. Is there a Mrs. Maurice that we don't know? Because how far? How far? You've groomed our mind for the past, I think, past 4 5 years, until last year November that the entire controversy started. You completely groom our mind. Eh? Now you keep confusing us. 1 minute, because because it has been going on for the past 2 years or 3 years. We know that this is it. You completely groom our mind. Then all of a sudden, something changed again. Now you are talking about something else again. Hello, Mrs. Hello, Mrs. Maurice. So who is now the Mrs.? Because me at this moment, I'm confused too. The way everybody is confused, I'm confused at the same time. I'm confused. I don't even understand Maurice. Maurice, I don't understand you. Because if you guys understand, you guys should come. Last time I was talking about it, one person was telling me that Maurice was already married. That me, I should stand in. I said, me, I'm already heartbroken. I don't want to believe all this kind of a thing again. But Maurice, all of a sudden, Maurice is coming with different. He said, hello, Mrs. Hello, Mrs. Maurice. Who is the Mrs. Maurice? Maurice. So this is a video where he shared on his verified accounts on social media. He was asking, somebody was asking him that will you take my can I take your last name? He now said in his capture that hello, Mrs. Sam. Then later he now wrote in his capture and said that especially if she's a pro, especially if she's a pro in what, Maurice? Because that's what people were asking, especially if she's a pro in what. Yes, we all know what, definitely what he wants, or he knows what exactly he wants. So what is with hello, Mrs. Maurice? So is he directly telling us that he's already married? Because if he's not married, he would have said hello, Mrs. Maurice to be, or Mrs. Sam to be. But he went directly and said hello, Mrs. Maurice. So I bet this guy is already married indirectly, and he's telling us that he's already married though. But just that he will keep getting us confused, because I don't even understand. Especially if she's if she's a pro. Especially if she's a pro in what? And he went ahead and said hello, Mrs. Maurice. So does that mean Maurice is already married? That he's calling somebody Mrs. Maurice already? Because how far with all this? I don't even understand the guy anymore. Me, if you ask me, I would say I'm confused at this point. Hello, Mrs. Maurice. Why not put hello, Mrs. Maurice to be? He just said hello, Mrs. Maurice. Especially if she's a pro. Hello, Mrs. Maurice. Like the last time I'm asking, some of you will go, because some of you actually know more than I know. Me at this point, I did not even understand. I'm just giving you guys the gist of what is going on. Because the more you look, the less you see. The more you look, the less you see. Anyways, that is the update. So Maurice already said that, he already has Mrs. Maurice. Because the person that he's actually calling Mrs. Maurice is a pro. So, whatever it is, we are waiting for the official Mrs. Maurice. But this one, I just they look and they look and they look and they say, wetin dey happen? Wetin dey happen? Mrs. Maurice? When did they ask the official, will you marry me? We used to see all the engagement, on set, when they are on set, the engagement hand, this marriage hand and things like that. But all of a sudden, we used to see it again. Is it that he's keeping it secret or something? Me, I don't want to say anything, Anyways, he said Mrs. already, so that means somebody is already a Mrs. Sam. Somebody is already a Mrs. In that call that he did that last time, is it the Mrs. that is on the background where he was actually talking with? In the background, you remember now last week that call now that we talk about that that Unresolved Mystery actually share. Is it that one that is Mrs. Lucky? Because I don't even understand Maurice. So Mrs. Sam, if you are the one that is Mrs. Sam, come out officially and tell us so. Because we need to know who is the Mrs. Sam that's Maurice actually talking about. Because he already called you Mrs. Sam. So that means there is somebody that is in the background that is already a Mrs. Me, if you allow me, that is what I would say. There's somebody in the background that is already a Mrs. If you allow me, oh, because he didn't say Mrs. Maurice to be or Mrs. Sam to be. He just say hello, Mrs. Maurice. This guy, the more you look, the less you see, oh. The more you look, the less you see. Anyways, that's just the update that, please, guys, Maurice did not say that Mrs. Sam to be. He said, hello, Mrs. Sam. That's what he said. Hello, Mrs. Sam. So there is already a Mrs. He didn't say Mrs. Sam to be. There is already a Mrs. Me, I'm even confused at this point. Guys, what do you think about all those is right up? Hello, Mrs. Sam. Hello, Mrs. Sam.